All right, VHR, here we go. We're going to do a breakdown now of Hans and Franz, the mechanics and the movements. It's really a phase one fight, but it has different effects that occur between the two of them, leaving the fight and coming back to it at different percentages, as the numbers indicate over here, and also in your strategy guide that I sent. We will be heroing at the start because for the first 20%, they don't move. This is a rough drawing of the outline of what the stage looks like. It's a large rectangle with a number of conveyor belts that are located throughout it. There will be a number of effects that occur at different percentages as based on the numbers. Starting at 100% to 80% health, both the bosses are going to be together, and the conveyor belt stays stationary in the stage. So how we're going to approach it, I don't know necessarily if we're going to be coming in from the south or we'll be coming in from the north, but what we're going to do is have the tanks in the middle and then form up two groups that are going to be very tight to the left and right, and that's going to help us deal with a lot of the different functions that the bosses do plus the stage. Now, as far as from 80% to 70% health, Hans is going to leap out of the encounter area. He's going to activate the conveyor belts, and at this point, this is when players need to start dodging searing plates. Searing plates are a function of where they either come down, they'll be moving across it on the conveyors, and either groups of four where we have to get to one lane to avoid it, or a group of one, and then it just keeps rotating across. So it'll be very similar to like playing Frogger in its approach. We'll just have to look and see as far as how it's coming along and then adjust accordingly. From 70 to 55% health, Hans returns to the encounter and the conveyor belts go back to stationary. So the searing plates that'll be present will be there. If they're all gone from the stage, that'll be cool too. All we're going to do is look for them and make sure we don't step on the big molten looking plates, right? 50 to 40% health, that's when Franz leaps out of the encounter area. He activates the conveyor belt, and players must now dodge stamping presses as they crash down from the ceiling to avoid the pulverizing damage that occurs. Now, the effects for these is that something above us is going to be coming down and slamming down onto the areas. You have several seconds to be able to identify the area as far as where it's going to be. It will be random, and it will be throughout the entire area. So we'll have to look as the conveyor belts are moving where the stamps are coming down and then just avoid them accordingly. From 40 to 25%, Franz jumps back into the encounter. The belts remain stationary until 25%. At that point, Hans is going to jump out from 25 to 15%. He's going to reactivate the conveyor belts, and we're going to go back to having to avoid searing plates again. And then he's going to join back into the fight at 15%, so we'll have both the bosses active. The conveyor belts will continue to move, and stamping press will constantly reoccur. So that's going to be how the fight looks throughout most of it. The idea involving the searing plates and the stamping press seem pretty rudimentary. Big effect. It's going to look like magma plates or presses that are coming down. They'll probably be a grayish, blackish look as far as the press, and it'll be random. So we just have to make sure we're paying attention for it and move accordingly. Now, moving on to the bosses. The bosses have a couple of specific moves. There's 4 of them in total, starting with Body Slam. Body Slam is going to activate a red arrow above one of us. Initially, it starts with a tank, and then it's going to go to range and to melee. So what you'll see is a red arrow above yourself. At that point, what you're going to have to do is either go to the west, go to the east, go to the north, or go to the south based on our positioning, and get out of the group to save everybody from the 12-yard effect that the body slam is going to cause. Okay, the name of that debuff goes as Shattered Vertebrae, and basically what it does is it increases the overall damage that is taken by the individual involving the encounter. Okay, after that, you start to have an effect that occurs on the individuals called Aftershock. Aftershock will tend to tick 2 times, and its damage is increased by the effect of the shattering vertebrae. So what we have to do is watch out for that Aftershock when it starts to occur and heal through it promptly. Next effect that we're going to talk about is Disrupting Roar. Disrupting Roar is a global interrupt that's going to be shouted out, so anybody casting at that point will be interrupted. I'm not sure if it has any kind of cooldown or whatnot that's going to support it. But what you want to do is watch out for it on DBM, and if you can't see it, make sure that you activate it, and then stop your casting right to prior to it going off, and then adjust accordingly. Next move is the Skullcracker. The Skullcracker is random. He's going to target a player in the raid and deals moderate to heavy damage, physical. It cannot be predicted, and so what the healers have to do is just pay attention for it. It's going to cause a spike in damage, and we need to make sure that we get heals flowing into the individual as promptly as we can. Now, the amount of damage that players take is reflected to the amount of rage and is proportional to their missing health. So the more rage a boss has, the more damage his melee attacks will do. and the more damage the special attack will become as he rotates through it. So what we want to make sure that we're looking at is that his total rage is done to the total amount of damage. So avoiding mechanics that he's doing here properly means that he'll do less damage as a whole to the individuals who he's attacking, which will be the tanks, for example, and the occasional random attack with Skullcracker and with Body Slam. Final move that he has is going to be on the tanks. It's called Crippling Suplex. He picks up the tanks and smashes their bodies together. Each tank takes the other tank's maximum health pool as physical damage. Tanks should use a strong survivability cooldown, and also we should have external cooldowns and probably a healing rotation when this occurs. I'm going to go ahead now, end the video. If you like it, click like below. Any comments, please place it. And then I'll be bringing up the next video, which is going to go over responsibilities for the tanks, for the heals, and for the DPS. Thank you for watching.